Thai curry. This is one of my favorite recipes. It offers a lot of flavor and it's actually quite simple. I think oftentimes people might feel a little intimidated by the idea of a curry because it sounds like there's a lot of complex flavors and spices, but we can use some shortcut ingredients to make it quite simple. So the base of our ingredients are going to be some vegetables, about 4 cups of vegetables. You can do fresh, you can do frozen, really anything you would put in a stir fry will work well in a curry. And then a protein, I'm going to use chicken thighs today. It could be a cooked protein or you can do raw. I'll show you how I'm going to cook the raw. There's a few different options for that. You could do chicken, you could do shrimp, beef, tofu, chickpeas, a variety of different things will work. And then a curry paste. I like this Thai Kitchen brand. I will say I tried a store brand once and it was incredibly spicy and almost ruined the dish. It was so spicy. So this brand has been really reliable. This is a red curry that I'm using today, but you could use a green or a yellow. They all offer like a slightly different flavor profile and spice level, but it's not super spicy. So my kids will eat this and they don't really like spice. So just an indicator of how spicy it is. We're going to need some broth. So today I'm going to be using chicken broth. I'm going to use this better than bouillon paste. I use this a lot in the kitchen. It's just an easy way to make the broth volume that you need when you need it. So 1 teaspoon plus a cup of water equals a cup of broth. So you could use chicken, you could use a veggie broth, whatever you have on hand. And then some coconut milk. I use about a half a can of coconut milk depending on how much I'm making and the type of coconut milk. There will be regular coconut milk and then there's light, and really light just has some water added to it. So I tend to buy the regular just so I'm not paying for water, and then I just use less and it lasts me a little bit longer. So any type of coconut milk that you have on hand will work. If you don't like coconut milk, it doesn't feel good in your body, whatever reason you don't want to use it, you could try maybe just a bit of cream added in at the end, maybe some evaporated milk, or a non-dairy milk. You just wouldn't really want to use a sweetened milk. You'd kind of have to play around to see which type of milk would work best. Okay, and then I'm just going to serve it over a grain. I'm using rice noodles today. I've heard that you can find brown rice noodles. My store doesn't sell them, but I would love to have those too. I've tried them and they were really good. You could also just use plain rice, brown rice, whatever type of grain you like to serve this over. Okay, and then I'm going to add a couple other just flavoring kind of enhancements to this, but really these basic ingredients will give you a great curry. All right, let's get started. I'm going to heat my pan over medium heat here. And because my chicken thighs are raw, I'm going to cook those first, just kind of like I might do in a stir fry. You could also add them later on. You just really need to make sure you cook it long enough that they're fully cooked. So that would be our just the thing to be mindful of there. So heating up a little bit of my oil here, about a tablespoon. And then I also have some fresh ginger that I've minced up and some fresh garlic. If you have these on hand, feel free to use them. They're a really nice way to add flavor to your dish. If you don't have them, but you have dried, ground ginger or powdered garlic powder, those would be great as well. Maybe a half teaspoon of each. Or if you don't have either or don't like them, feel free to leave them out. You're going to get a lot of flavor from the curry paste. So it's an option there. Okay, I'm going to get my chicken thighs in here. And just get them out in a single layer if you can. This is a great recipe for if you do have some leftover chicken that's already cooked. That would work really well to just toss in toward the end. We'll just let those sit for a couple of minutes. So for veggies today, I'm using some diced zucchini, some bell pepper, and then just some slivered kind of sliced onion. You could also use summer squash, broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, carrots, mushrooms, snow peas. Really a variety of different things are going to work really well in a curry. I would just go with what you have on hand or what your family likes, and that'll be great. You could use 1 vegetable, you could use 5, really just go with what you like. And they do sell, if you're looking for a really quick option, in the frozen section, you can buy a frozen stir fry blend, and all those vegetables are going to work well in here. So feel free to just pick up a bag. The whole bag will be the right volume for what you need in here. So that can be a nice option. I'm going to get my broth made up while I'm waiting for my chicken to cook. So I need I'm going to need 2 cups of broth. So I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of the paste. And then hot water is most helpful. It'll just help it blend best. I have a kitten right now who's very mischievous and having fun. And so if you see her like fly through the camera, don't be alarmed. It wouldn't surprise me. She's kind of flying behind it. So I do like to mix these in jars just because I find it's really easy to get it all well mixed up. Another reason I like this better than bouillon is that it's more affordable than buying boxes of broth or cans of broth. So this makes 38 cups of broth, and it was about $6. And so sticking a little bit. I noticed the boxes of broth, which are 4 cups, tend to be about $3, it seemed like. And so $3 for 4 cups or $6 for 38 cups. Definitely a difference there. And I imagine the cans are a couple of dollars as well. I also just found that I was wasting. I'd use 2 cups of that box of broth and it would sit in my fridge and I would kind of forget to plan a meal around it. And then I'd end up throwing it away. And so I feel like I reduced my waste by using a paste. All right, so we just want to make sure our meat is no longer pink. It is going to simmer in the curry a little bit later, so you don't need to have it kind of 100% completely cooked, but we want it close. We're getting there. Okay. For the curry paste, the recipe will be in the comment section of this video. Usually 1 to 2 tablespoons of the paste is the amount that I need for about a 4-serving curry, but you can always add more later. So feel free to start on the lower end and increase as you go, or if you're familiar with this and you know the volume you need, feel free to jump right in with the volume that you like. And then the thing about coconut milk is it often separates in the can. So when you open the can, there'll be this like thick solidified amount and then a liquid amount. If you put your can in warm water, it will help the coconut milk to liquefy, and then that will reduce that. It doesn't really matter. You kind of need half the solid and half the liquid. I actually opened a can of coconut milk yesterday to put in a butternut squash soup. And so I have that here, and that's what I'm going to use. And you'll see, oh, this one's fairly well mixed, but there's still kind of some solids and some liquids. So I'm just going to kind of use about half of both and use about a cup of that. Okay, so my chicken is done. I'm sticking a little bit. Part of it is my pan. It's not my favorite pan. Part of it is maybe I could have used a little bit more oil, but that's okay. We'll kind of scrape those up as we go and they'll add some flavor. So I'm just going to put my chicken in a clean bowl over here. Okay, and I'm going to give another drizzle of oil here just because I've kind of got some meat scraps going on here. And then I'm going to get my ginger and garlic and veggies in. If you're using ginger and garlic, now's the time to put them in. If you're not, just pop your veggies in there. And the moisture from the veggies is going to help kind of clean out that pan too. So just get everything moving around. So we want to kind of stir fry our veggies first, and then we're going to add in the curry paste and the broth, and then that'll kind of liquefy and get our flavors going. And then as it simmers, the broth will help kind of continue to fully cook the veggies. So we'll just give it about 5 minutes here to start that cooking process. You're going to get really nice flavors coming through as the ginger and the garlic start, and even just the bases of your veggies, the onions and the bell peppers, whatever veggies you have. It's a nice opportunity to really connect with the foods that we are cooking with and eating, and just really take in their flavors and their appearance. It's so easy in our busy world to kind of rush through food and just have it something we're kind of, getting through to get to the next thing. And it can really be a helpful tool in us slowing down and practicing some mindfulness around the foods that we're cooking with and eating. All right, so my broth is going to be ready. Get my curry paste ready. I'm going to use about probably 1.5 tablespoons in here. I'll say 1 to 2 in the ingredients list, and you can decide how much you want there. And then if you were using curry powder, I'd start with a tablespoon. If you're new to using a specific curry powder, I would recommend smelling it and even giving it a taste ahead of time so that you know how much spice is in there. It seems like they can vary quite a bit. Some have some spice to them and heat, and some are pretty more just flavor. And so you want to know what you're working with before you put a lot in your curry, and then it becomes kind of spicier than you can handle. All right. All right, I'm gonna get my broth in. My pan's not super cooperative today. Some of it is also the heat of a burner like this is very different than using a gas stove. And part of that is just a learning curve on my end. But this is good for you to watch because this might be happening in your kitchen too. And we want to have ways to brainstorm what to do. One, you can just turn your heat down if you feel like your pan is burning a bit. But just getting some liquid in the pan too is really going to help reduce that. So once your liquid is in the pan, we want to kind of bring this up to a simmer. So feel free to increase your temperature. And I'm going to get my curry in here too. I normally, if I wasn't feeling a little rushed, would get my curry paste in before the broth and just like cover the veggies in it to get those flavors heated up. But that's okay. All right, so just stir that curry in there. Okay, I'm gonna give this a couple minutes to tenderize the veggies, and then I'm gonna get the chicken back in so the flavor can really enhance the chicken. All right, our veggies have been simmering for about 5 minutes. They've tenderized. I'm gonna put my chicken back in. And just get this all mixed in. It's looking really yummy. It smells delicious. Just kind of let that chicken simmer in there for a minute or two. And then we're gonna get our coconut milk in. And at that point, you're pretty much done the base of your recipe. So we stir fried our protein and our veggies. We got our curry paste in, our broth in. We're gonna add our coconut milk. That could be, you could be done. But what you really wanna do is taste at that point and see, how does it taste to you? Is it perfect? Does it not need anything? Would you like a little bit of sweetness to it? A teaspoon of sugar goes a long way to balance out the saltiness and the spiciness. So a teaspoon of sugar can be really nice, or maple syrup or honey, any sweetener that you like. Also, a squeeze of lime can be really nice. That acid kind of brightens up the dish a bit. Do you want a little more spice? Do you want more curry paste? Do you want a little bit of a hot sauce or a cayenne in there to bring out the heat? You have some options. Do you want to put some fresh chopped cilantro on there? So really just an opportunity for you to taste and see how you want to make it your own. Okay, let's get our coconut milk in. So again, it's usually about a half a can, a little less than a cup that I like in mine. Coconut milk is, coconut in general is one of those ingredients, you know, it's kind of in the category of butter in terms of its saturated fat content. That's the type of fat that is not quite so good for our heart. It's a type of fat that we want to have in moderation. Doesn't mean you can't have it, but just not going overboard. But it does add a really nice kind of flavor and texture and mouthfeel to a dish. So some in dishes like this can be really lovely, and it's maybe not something we'd want to have all the time. Or kind of going overboard with the volume that you're using in a dish like this. Now you'll already see it liquefies very quickly as it heats. We've got a nice creaminess to the dish now. All right, I'm gonna give my broth a taste and see where we're at. It has a nice saltiness to it, a very, very mild amount of heat. I wouldn't even call it spicy, but a really nice flavor balance. I am going to do my teaspoon of sugar because I do think that balances it really nicely. And I'm going to put some squeeze of lime in here. I will say, even without the lime and the sugar, it's delicious. I would really enjoy it. It's just fun to make things even yummier. Okay. This is also a great recipe to make ahead and have as leftovers. It's so nice to have a delicious meal like this made and just be able to heat it up in the midst of whatever you have going on in your day. All right, so just make sure your protein is fully cooked at this point. If you want to temp it, obviously always a great idea. Small pieces like this cook fairly quickly, so I'm confident that it's well cooked in here. And so I'm going to serve this. So my noodles were just cooked, so they're still warm. They're probably all stuck together though. Whoop. All right. You can kind of get as much broth as you want. If you find that you make yours and you want it brothier, you could definitely add more broth or even add a little bit of water if you feel like there's plenty of salt already in there. But I like a good amount of broth in mine as well. So here is our curry. It's delicious. It's a fairly simple and quick recipe to put together. So I hope you give it a try.